Welcome, students. Today we're going to talk about the state government of Virginia. And the way we're going to discuss it today is by going through each of the branches of Virginia government and discussing the structure and the roles of each part. So let's begin on your notes with the Virginia Constitution. So Virginia has a constitution just like the United States has a constitution, and this document is what shapes the state government of Virginia. And you're going to notice as we go through this that there are a lot of similarities between the state government of Virginia and the national government of the United States. For example, there's 3 branches. It's a bicameral legislature, there's executives, there's different levels of court. So as you're paying attention to specific details of how Virginia does things, also make a note of how similar and maybe even how different Virginia's government is to our national government. Let's begin with the legislative branch. So the legislative branch of Virginia is called the General Assembly, and this has some historic distinction. It's the oldest legislative body in the Americas. We got its start back in the 1600s with the House of Burgesses, which was Virginia's colonial government, and that body has continued to exist and adapt and evolve over the years into what we have today. It's not called the House of Burgesses anymore. It's referred to as the General Assembly. The General Assembly is broken down into 2 houses. So it's a bicameral legislature. And these 2 houses are the Virginia State Senate and the House of Delegates. What the General Assembly does for Virginia is basically perform the same kind of functions that Congress does for the United States. So they provide a check and balance with the governor of the state's executive by confirming the appointments. They design and pass laws. They create our budget. They levy our taxes in Virginia. Specifically, the Virginia State Senate, which is the upper house of the General Assembly, Virginia's state legislature, is a 40-member group. It's 40 senators in the Virginia State Senate, and each one of those 40 senators represents an area of the state, which you can see on the map, lower part of the screen. So these 40 senators get together to perform their role, their job as the Virginia Senate, and they are elected by the people, and they serve for a 4-year term. The lower house is called the House of Delegates. This consists of 100 people, 100 members, and these 100 members come from districts. The district map for the House of Delegates is the map that you're seeing on the lower part of the screen right now. These delegates from these different districts are elected by the people that live there, and they serve for 2-year terms. So keep in mind that there are 40 senators, 100 delegates. They represent a district or an area of the state of Virginia and the population that lives within that part. For the executive branch, we have 3 offices that make up the executive branch of Virginia. One is governor, the second is lieutenant governor, and the third is attorney general. So let's talk about what each one of these offices does as its role in the executive branch. So the chief executive of Virginia is our governor. And the governor you can think of as kind of equivalent to the president of the United States. So they're doing a lot of things that you would expect the president to do, except on the state level for Virginia. So check out the list of duties and powers that the governor possesses. So he's looking over the state bureaucracy, he's preparing a budget, he's the executor of state laws. The governor can appoint people to different offices. They can veto bills as a check against the legislative branch, and they serve for 4 years. So that's kind of similar to a president's term, but here's a special circumstance that the governors of Virginia have to respect. They can't serve 2 terms back to back. So typically when we have a governor, we've only got them for 4 years. They move on to do something else because it's against the Virginia Constitution to serve consecutive terms as governor. The lieutenant governor, think of this person as the equivalent of the vice president. The lieutenant governor is the assistant governor, but they really only have one sort of official task or job, and that is to lead sessions of the Virginia Senate. Beyond that, powers of the lieutenant governor are fairly limited. And that third office for the executive branch is the Attorney General. And as the name implies, the Attorney General is a lawyer for the state of Virginia, so they can handle legal matters or defend the state if the state is drawn into a legal case. The judicial branch of Virginia is made up of levels of courts, and these courts are structured in a way that's also similar to how it's done at the federal level, except we have 4 levels, and each one of these courts is responsible for a different thing. Please note that judges in the state of Virginia are elected by state legislature, the General Assembly in this case. They're not voted on by the people. They are elected by the legislature. The highest court is the State Supreme Court of Virginia. This is the court that reviews all the decisions of the lower state courts in Virginia. Just beneath that is a level of court called the Court of Appeals. So the Court of Appeals is responsible for reviewing lower court decisions and reviewing the actions of state commissions. The circuit courts are trial courts. These are the courts where serious civil cases or serious criminal cases will be tried. And then underneath that is a level of court called the General District Court, which is responsible for trying cases that involve either misdemeanors or, in many cases, traffic violation cases, and are also involved in lesser civil cases. And then a special court is the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court, and this is a branch of the court system that takes care of cases involving people who are under 18, juveniles, and domestic relations. So things like custody and that sort of stuff. So there you have it. Those are the 3 branches of Virginia state government. We'll discuss how state governments work in a little more detail in class. So please bring your notes and your questions. And I'll see you then.